I think I like Studio Mappa quite a bit. I really do. After this episode, I'm no longer on the fence with Punchline. I've successfully fallen over to the side of, I am really loving this series after this week's episode. Like, I can't deny now, after this episode of some things being revealed and a lot of different plot points coming up, the story is starting to get more solid as it progresses. Like, you're now starting to see the real structure of the story, especially with this episode, and to see how it was done. Why did I doubt this in the first place? Like, I did doubt it at the beginning when I first started watching Punchline, especially with certain episodes, with the comedy and different things that was used. But everything has its issues and problems, but damn, Mappa, you surprised me with this episode, especially with storytelling. Now, I want to ask a quick question, because I haven't actually asked this question since I've been reviewing this series. Is this an anime original, or is this based upon something? Because I do know Zenkyo no Terror was anime original. I do know that, Rage of Bahamut, that was kind of based on a card game, but with, like, a story, and it wasn't really following any other type of story, so it was kind of anime original to begin with. And then with this, I'm assuming it's also an anime original, or based off of a card game or something. But the thing is, okay, with this episode of Punchline, a lot of main central plot points are revealed, and it makes me put my thinking cap on. Yes, I'm putting my thinking cap and Fury Crafting on for Punchline. That goes to show you how impressed I was with this episode of the series. So, I've already talked about slightly in a couple past episode reviews, but now I do need to mention now, because this is really important. That cat is very suspicious. Very, very, very suspicious. There's a lot of questions I have right now after this episode. Like, as soon as I saw the way this episode was directing, like the way it was going towards, with the ending conclusion of it, I had those vibes. Those vibes like, that cat is not saying something. That cat is not letting us know the entire truth. Here is my thoughts on that. Either A, this cat is not telling the entirety of what is going on, which is very obvious. That cat's not telling everything. Number 2, the cat is having another grand scheme, like an in-game goal besides what Yuta is currently trying to do. Or 3, that cat is doing something else to where it wants to end the world or do something else. Take over someone's body. Because let's think about this, okay? The only spirits we have seen in this series so far for right now is Yuta and the cat. What happened to this cat? Why is it a spirit? Why does it have an attraction to our main character? Why is this cat trying to help out Yuta to begin with? There's a lot of questions. And it's not just that. Why? Why can this cat go back in time constantly? Which, if you think about it, it's obvious why the cat can go back in time, but Yuta can't. But why is the cat trying to help him? There's a lot of questions, like, why is it continuously trying to help out Yuta? Why? I feel like there's something else going on here. A lot of questions and a lot of whys right now. Because we kind of find out that Yuta has died a lot. A lot. Like, thousands upon thousands of times he has died. Yuta has died. And to find that out, it just goes to show you how long he's been stuck in this loop. And it's not a good loop. This loop is a loop of death. And this death loop that he's in, of course he gets to go back in time and reset. But the spirit or the soul or the Yuta we have gotten to know through our journey of Punchline will die. If you get what I'm saying. For instance, even if, let's say, Yuta travels out his journey through what he's doing right now. Like, now he's back in his body, and now he's living the perspective of the human being that was in his body, or the spirit that was in his body that we thought someone took over his body at the beginning of the series, if you understand what I'm getting at. Now we're living it through if he had his body back, and if, the spirit was coming after him, his, past self was coming after him. And the thing is, the way that's setting up, if he continues on this path, and if he doesn't fix things, he will die. For instance, his past self, or his current age self that's outside the body, will be in the exact same position as Yuta was in last week's episode when he had to teleport back into the past. And so this would mean that the Yuta that we currently know and have been growing accustomed to since the beginning of the series would in fact die on the final episode, or whenever his journey is done here, when the days run out. So if he doesn't think of a way to fix this, he will die. But it's sad to find out that Yuta has died a lot. A lot. And it just puts in a broad term perspective, like how many times he's been constantly going over and over through this timeline, back and forth for a very long time. And it's weird. It's very, 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 very weird. It is. I just have a lot of questions right now for this series, because there's a lot of things building up, and the way the mechanics of this verse is being built up with the Ubify and stuff like that, along with, you know, how the person, when they're outside of their body, if they get excited, it causes it to where, like, they're weak to emotions or stimuli, and then they can kill their body. And it makes a lot more sense now if you start thinking about it. So, the very factor of fan service, the way it was used in Punchline, makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's very not modest, like, it's not modest, like, it's kind of almost slightly DXD when it comes to just being stupid, but it's crazy how something like the fan service is actually being used to progress the plot like it is, and it's quite impressive. It really is. I'm amazed at how this episode was done. I am truly amazed at the complexity of this episode. Like, there's a lot more meaning to this episode than what I've already said, but it just makes you really think that this series has a lot of depth to it. Like, it's a series that if you just look at for the comedy, you're gonna miss out. Like, I didn't think I would see this much depth to this series when I started. I didn't. I really didn't. Especially with how previous episodes have been. It's had its darker moments, yes, but I mean, it hasn't been something I would think to see something like this in the series. So I'm truly happy to say I've enjoyed Punchline. Like, I've enjoyed this episode a lot. Playing with something right now, if you're wondering, but I've truly enjoyed it. Damn. I just can't believe Punchline. Man. Okay, so getting back on topic. With this episode, though, there's a lot of variables we have to factor in right now, okay? So Yuta's on a time limit, and if he doesn't fix everything in this given amount of time, the Yuta we know is going to die, and we will be given a new character, a new Yuta. And with this, that's sad in of itself, because that would mean our character dies. But a lot of questions are building up with this cat. What's the role this cat has to play? I mean, there's other roles too, like the swapping of the bodies. We come to find out that Yuta wasn't really, so to say, official female. Like, he's a male in spirit, but a female in body, from what we come to find out. Because there was a long time ago in his past, 3 people swapped their bodies back and forth when they were Ubified, and it caused it to where their bodies swapped. And I like how Punchline goes back to kind of fill in some of these different questions, or what you could possibly consider as a plot hole if it didn't get answered. Like, you know, how the spirit got answered, of how Yuta can go into his body and eject his spirit out of his body, but if he was to go into, let's say, Robera's body, she doesn't get ejected out, like her spirit doesn't. I like how Punchline goes back to fill in these holes, because that could actually cause a plot hole, but Punchline went back to fill that in. And I appreciate that. I really appreciate that writing. I do. So, overall, if you don't understand, I don't know what to say. This was one of the best episodes of Punchline. It really was. I feel like the cat is lying, going to trick Yuta, and he's probably going to die. I feel like that's the main goal of the cat. I really do. So, we'll see. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or not wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.